Hi, I'm Steve Carlson, and I approve this message. I'm a third-party candidate for the United States Senate from Minnesota. I got involved in the federal elections in 2010 through the Independence Party of Minnesota because I couldn't bear to watch what was happening to my country. In 2008, I watched the financial market failure, and yes, I felt it too. I saw Obama take advantage of our misery to make a lot of false promises. I saw Franken run for Senate, and frankly, I didn't believe Minnesota would do that. But it was a catastrophic year. Then I saw Obama rely on Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid, and especially Senator 60th vote Franken, to slam through an unwanted, unworkable health care reform law, which we dubbed Obamacare. I saw the Tea Party, but did not get the email. I just noticed they were doing what I was doing, getting involved to save our nation, restore our nation. And it wasn't from a black man. It did not start with Obama's election, but when it became evident Congress was going to ignore our protests and put through his Obamacare bill that you had to read before you could believe what was in it. And you couldn't read it until Congress passed it without themselves reading it. And it shows. Now we see the broken promises of Preferred One, of Mark Dayton, and Minnesota Not So Sure, used to be called MnSure, but we can't keep calling it that, and the broken promises of my opponent, Franken. Previously, Dayton had said the biggest disappointment in his administration, and remember when he gave himself an F as a U.S. Senator, was the rollout of MnSure. But I'm sure many people right now are even more disappointed as the false promises of low costs are shattered with the biggest and lowest cost insurer, Preferred One, admitting they cannot make Obamacare work in Minnesota. Finally, another event that triggered me jumping in 2010 was Gitmo and Thompson, Illinois. Obama pretends to continue to be surprised at events in the Middle East as he has allowed a new nation to take root. And that new nation is not conceived in liberty nor dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. And ISIL might as well put his face on the first currency that nation engraves. But imagine if he had brought these terrorists from Guantanamo Bay and put them 150 miles south of the Mall of America, right on the Mississippi River in a strong flood. These issues were strong triggers for me to jump in the race, putting myself at risk in the process. But I had decades of experience and formal education in political leadership and as a journalist. I believe I have demonstrated that ability to contribute to leading on these issues, on the problems that face us now. And this is a crisis. And I have solutions for the problems you are concerned about. Here's why I think you should vote for me. Franken is a mindless radical, while McFadden is a rich guy. Al does not comprehend the need for solutions, and as a celebrity has never had to face many of the real issues. While Mike is afraid of the real issue. He doesn't want, for instance, to address the issue of marriage and morality in his campaign. And Mike does not understand the nuances of government's responsibility versus the liberties he values most highly, and does not know how to run a campaign. I am an experienced leader who has upset the establishment politicians by beating their endorsed candidate in the primary, and I am gratified to advance to this round. Nonetheless, there appears to be a concerted effort to eliminate me from the election by eliminating me from the debates, and that would exclude a valuable independent voice from the Independence Party. Valuable because I, in fact, bring solutions to each and every problem that is facing this nation. Solutions that neither the Democrat establishment nor the Republican establishment have yet come up with. Just to list the areas of policy where I have already presented solutions that the establishment parties are ignoring, let me run through them. Immigration and securing the Mexican border, access to health care, saving the U.S. economy from out-of-control federal spending, and the disempowerment of the 50 states and of local communities, and disempowerment of families, churches, and institutions, including private business, especially small business. Pursuing a foreign policy that represents the best America and the rest of the world have to offer. Defending our nation and bringing peace. Advancing education. Saving lives and not just money by organizing healthcare better. Protecting Minnesota borrowers from rapacious rates, freeing up disposable income and creating millions of new jobs. Protecting marriage, race relations, saving St. Paul and the East Metro economy, protecting free and fair elections. Who cannot admit that these are the critical issues in this campaign? I know the establishment parties will duck and hide not only from debates, but from these difficult issues. Ladies and gentlemen, voters of the great state of Minnesota, this is not leadership running and hiding from the policy questions in what are supposed to be free and fair federal elections to determine what Washington is going to do next. Now, let me quickly explain what I mean by solutions, and then I'm going to continue to visit these policy areas up until the election by every possible means, so that when you pick up your ballot November 4th, or before if you vote absentee ballot, and you see my name, Steve Carlson, at the top of the ballot, with the symbol IP next to it for Independence Party of Minnesota, still a major party, that at that point you will not pass me by, but you'll consider these messages I'm giving to you, and check that name for that office, U.S. Senator Steve Carlson. Now, what solutions means is that I bring to the table well-conceived, powerful policies that get the ball rolling and lead to an effective, momentous decision to move America forward on that issue. And all these issues are interrelated, so moving one issue forward moves the other issues forward as well, if it's done right. Now again, if we've learned anything about Al Franken during these past 6 difficult and dangerous years, it is that he is what can only be called a mindless radical. He's extremely wealthy, Senator Franken is, and he has spent a lot of money basically just putting out what members of Congress call casework. A Minnesotan contacts his office and his staff helps that person with their problem. And this is great. I'm not saying that he helped all those who contacted his office, but if he helped a few individuals, I'm extremely pleased. But that is not what this country needs, picking off the individual problems of Minnesota voters, one voter at a time. We need to make the U.S. Senate work to address these issues I'm discussing with you right now. There is not a single issue I've named which we can afford to let go unchecked, unresolved, festering, if you will, like an infection that saps the strength and health of the whole state of Minnesota and the other 50 states as well. Immigration, the economy, out-of-control federal spending and intrusion into the states, saving our families and churches and schools and community institutions and private businesses, especially the initiative and leadership of small businesses, pro-American foreign policy and defense of our nation, peace, education, health care, freedom from debt, equal opportunity and mutual respect among the races, marriage and children and establishing families and homes, jobs and income, jobs that let you be productive and valuable to your community, sound cities, free and fair elections, democracy, the Constitution. Which of these can Al Franken continue to ignore or even do harm to? He's off fundraising for what? I don't know. Do you? Democrat big shots? But what else? Feeding the hungry media machine? Placing commercials, advertisements, keeping those businesses in business, but not addressing important issues. Mike McFadden, he looks to be on the ropes. With the Bermuda and Ireland commercials of Team Franken. Looks like a vacation commercial. Very appealing. Which of us doesn't see beautiful Bermuda or beautiful Ireland and not stop and watch the commercial? Not because we like or agree with the insults to Mike McFadden or assaults on free enterprise, but because we love to look at distant beautiful islands in full color, breeze rustling through the palm trees on the white sands near the blue-green waters. But Mike brought this on himself. Not only did he bring a bad deal to the table on gas tax hikes, which he immediately walked back, not only did he ante up for Chinese steel to get his energy pipeline deal through, but his commercials are just, well, plain silly. Maybe his Where is Al commercial debating without a partner is the best. Hey, Mike, want me to step up to the other lectern? Or is that how you debate, pretending no one is there who wants to and is qualified to debate you? But if the debate commercial has any merit, the first one was troubling. He wants to be in charge of America's healthcare reform, to give us our healthcare system back. And his own system is to save $100 by taking his own son's stitches out? Come on. Or the next one. Someone explained to me that he hired supposedly an Al Franken lookalike. So the idea of the commercial is this Franken lookalike incompetently backs his speedboat into the lake and keeps failing because he doesn't know the Minnesota way to do it. I understand Al's from New York, and Mike says there's a Minnesota way to be a senator. But nobody really thinks Washington needs to be fixed in the Minnesota way. So again, the commercial's pretty pointless. And this Where's Al commercial is the more effective. I understand Mike is just trying to introduce himself to the voters and reintroduce himself. He's a nice guy, good sense of humor, lots of money to throw around on pointless commercials, and he just opened himself up to Team Franken's demolishing duo of Bermuda and Ireland, because the subtext of this vacation spot is Mike's business. He's got Mike defending his business instead of defending America. And where is the tie-in between Mike's business experience right here in Minnesota and creating Minnesota jobs? And finally, we know Mike doesn't know how to campaign or make commercials, but has he given any thought to these important issues? Immigration, the economy, out-of-control federal spending, and intrusion into the states, saving our families and churches and schools and community institutions and private businesses, especially the initiative and leadership of small businesses, pro-American foreign policy and defense of our nation, peace, education, freedom from debt, equal opportunity and mutual respect among the races, marriage and children and establishing families and homes, jobs and income, jobs that let you be productive and valuable to your community, sound cities, free and fair elections, democracy, the Constitution. Over these difficult and dangerous years, the Democrats and Al Franken have affected each of these policy issues in a negative way and failed to deliver leadership. Now Minnesota can't wait to debate. Let's get to these policy questions as soon as possible so Minnesota voters can make an informed decision and get an effective senator in Washington. I am Steve Carlson, approving and making this message, and I will continue to focus on these issues at my website, stevecarlsonforcongress2010.com.